Hey, Brandon here. Welcome to the channel and thanks for tuning in. Got another 2025 rookie profile show here for you today. I'm excited about this one. I am going solo on this show. We're going to talk XAVIER Restrepo, wide receiver from Miami. So you play Dynasty, you play Devy, and you're looking for a YouTube channel out there that's going to give you an early look at the 2025 rookie picks that we'll be drafting in our rookie drafts next year. Hit the subscribe button. This channel is dedicated to doing player profiles, mock drafts, all sorts of great stuff to give you an early look at future Dynasty assets. All right. So we're going to have fun with this show, man. We're going to really dig deep into Restrepo's profile. We're going to look at his production statistics. I'm going to share with you my scouting notes. We're going to talk draft capital. We're going to give you a couple player comps. So let's get to the show. All right, XAVIER Restrepo, everyone, 5'10", 198 pounds. You can see here on the player card that I created, he is going into his 5th season. Really didn't have a whole lot of production his first 3 years at Miami. You can see he topped out at 373 yards his sophomore season, but really broke out last year with 103 yards. 1,003 yards, 72 catch percentage. We're going to talk about his hands when we get to the scouting report. 74 receptions, really good season. I mean, he was a really solid possession receiver last year for Miami. You can see he is going to be a slot receiver. Played 93% last year and 92% overall in his 4-year career in the slot. So I project that he's going to have the same role at the NFL and won't be used really on the outside at all, which kind of limits his versatility, which isn't great. But man, what a great season that he had. Yak yards per reception, 4.5. Yards per route run, 2.76. Really solid numbers. His contested catch percentage, only 50. But that's not going to be his game anyway. So this guy's going to be one of these players that we get out in space, and we're going to be getting the hands in his balls. And it's kind of really what the NFL is kind of looking for, I think, these days. If you're not a true alpha boundary receiver, they're looking for twitchy guys that they can get the ball in their hands quickly, let them do some damage in the yak department. And I think he's got some ability to be a solid slot receiver in the NFL. All right, so before I do these films, usually I'm with my podcast co-host Jason. We watch a ton of all 22 films. So before I created this show, I went and cut up 3 games of his Louisville game, his Boston College game, as well as his game versus Rutgers. And I cut up these all 22 films. We took a look at them. If you want access, again, I said at the beginning of the show, you can hit me up via email, and I can provide access again through my dashboard subscription service if you want cut-ups of all 22 film of these players. I got cut-ups films like this of a ton of rookies headed to our drafts in 2025 when we do our rookie drafts next year. All right, let's get to his scouting report. What did I see when I watched the film on XAVIER Restrepo? I was really excited to watch him, especially after last year's season. I love tough, gritty football players, and this guy fits the bill. Like I said, 5'10", 198 pounds, almost 200 pounds. So he's 5'10", which probably means he's really like 5'8.5", 5'9". They always come in an inch shorter, when they go to the combine. That's usually what happens. But he's a thick, tough player, and I love physicality when it comes to wide receivers. If you've watched my the shows on this channel, or you've listened to my podcast, physicality is something I value very highly, especially in the wide receiver department. So his scouting report, overall, I think he's a really twitchy athlete. I think he's a good lateral mover. Watching his film, he's got that dead leg ability, especially after the catch. I like how he turns upfield, although watching his film, it was really interesting. He lost his balance quite a few times, pivoting upfield. And I make a comment because I did a film breakdown on all 3 of those where I commented on each and every play that he did. But he's a good lateral mover. I think he's got a twitchy, really good ability to shift gears and change directions, which is really good. It's all about creating space in the wide receiver position. I think he does a pretty decent job doing that. I mean, he's got really good body control, really good hands. You can see his catch percentage, 72.5% this year. I mean, he made some really great catches in these 3 films that I cut up and watched. I mean, really on the boundary, even in the middle of the field. Excuse me. Van Dyke was his quarterback last year and really was off target a lot. And this guy really bailed him out on many, many occasions, catching the ball, going up and getting. He does have a tendency to body catch a little bit, but he made some really nice catches as well. So in the end, he got the ball and caught the ball. Physicality, you can see here on the player card as well, is something that I value very highly. This guy is a tough, gritty player. He is not afraid of contact. He's willing to put his head down, fight for extra yards. It's clear. You can see that when you watch his film. All right. Now, a couple things, a couple knocks on his profile, things that I'll be looking for as we go into the 2024 season. He's going back, like I said, for his 5th year. These are the things that I'm going to be looking for a little bit of an improvement in. He's only a slot only. There's not much he's going to be doing about that. He's going to be in the slot again at Miami. He's going to have a lot more pass catchers there this year. So I think, he should, if he has another 1,000-yard season, he is going to be on the map for NFL scouts next year. His yak production was good, but I was kind of disappointed watching the film that I didn't see some more explosive plays. I mean, he's got the ability to catch the ball, turn up field, make a guy miss, good vision, got the ability to get some extra yak chunk yards, but I didn't just see that breakaway ability where he could kind of dust guys and stuff like that. So he doesn't have that deep speed. So this guy is going to be a true possession receiver who's going to have to win, I think, with just really good technique as a route runner. And we're going to get to, let's get to it right now. Let's go in and take a look. I like doing tape grades on here. We're going to I got 5 characteristics or traits that I categorize when I watch film. His release and route running, I gave him a 3.5. I think he's just above average. And these grades are 1 through 5. And he's got some twitch. Like I said, one of his strengths is his lateral movement, his twitchiness to him. He's got some really good footwork and stuff like that, but he could be refined a little bit more in the route running department. He's got a very limited route tree too, a lot of digs, out routes, in routes and stuff, very short to intermediate. There are some vertical plays where he's winning down the seam, but he's not one of these guys that's going to win like vertically, down the field and be a option, I think, in the vertical passing game. I think he's going to be, obviously, like we spoke about, a slot-only producer who's really going to have to create space for himself to get open and make himself available for the quarterback. And I think he does a good job, but I think he could be a little better and a little crisper in his routes. All right. And maybe that'll come with this 5th season. His ball skills and hands, I gave a 4 out of 5. I mean, like I said, if you watch this film, if you come and join my dashboard, I'll give you access to these 3 films. I break them all down play by play. I mean, he's got some really good body control, boundary awareness, strong hands, really plucked some balls out of the air. At the same time, he does body catch a little bit when he has the ability to body catch. I'd like to see, especially on the certain vertical boundary plays, kind of lets the ball come to him instead of outreaching those hands, with the good technique to do that. So I think that's one thing that he's going to have to maybe work on a little bit. But he's tough and physical, and he comes down with the football, and he can really shield, from his physical ability to, shed contact to make those difficult catches. All right. His acceleration and speed, I gave him a 3. I just didn't come away with seeing like a really great, burner speed package, and it's a little disappointing given his size because he's going to be a smaller receiver. I mean, there's not a ton of receivers in the NFL that are 5'10" who aren't explosive players, right? They make up for that lack of height by being an explosive playmaker with acceleration and speed. I didn't see that with Restrepo's game. Did he create space in college? Yes. But again, we talked about his yak ability and not really, making guys miss and leaving guys in the dust. And I, would have liked to have seen a little bit more acceleration and speed. Yards after the catch, I gave him a 3.5. Like I said, I would like to see him improve in that ability, trying, he fights for every yard. Like I said, he's got that good dead leg, lateral movement, decent accelerator, but he doesn't have that burst, right? Like when he gets that opening in the second level, like to take it to the house, he's going to more, I guess you could say, he's going to get what's given to him, but I'm not sure he can create a lot in the yak department on his own. I think he's got just the limited, acceleration and burst to be able to really create better angles for himself to get more additional yardage. His physicality and athleticism, Physicality, let's start with that. Tough, physical, love what he brings to the table in that. I think he's got a lot of athleticism as well. So I'm going to give him a tape grade of a 4 for that. Like I said, I love physical receivers. So, I mean, the fact that this guy, is tough on the field, tough to bring down, isn't afraid of contact. I love just tough, gritty players. It's like a blue collar kind of player for me, right? A guy that's just doesn't really flash, and he doesn't have that one trait that is like, wow, look at that trait. He's just above average in just about everything. But we'll have to see how that translates to the NFL. So let's just get right over to his draft capital. What do we think, XAVIER, right now? We're just under a year out from the 2025 NFL draft, but it's fun nonetheless to get early looks on these players. So when you go into the 2025 season or the 2024 season upcoming in a couple months, I already have identified what I'm looking for in Restrepo's game for him to inflate his draft stock. All right. I think he is probably right now an early day 3 guy. I think around 4 is where I would have him pegged right now. The wide receiver class as a whole is pretty good. Not as good as last year. We got some nice guys at the top, but then I think it gets a little muddled, and there's a lot yet to prove. We got some more time before, we even have to really think about the NFL draft next year in 2025. But I think he's early day 3 guy right now, unless I see a really big improvement in his wow moments on the field and his acceleration burst and so on and so forth. I think he's a good slot receiver, an NFL team out there that is looking for him to, just come in, get open underneath. But how does that relate to being a fantasy dynasty asset? And I look at a player and say to myself, okay, is he going to be somebody that I'm going to be looking to put into my roster on a consistent basis? And, slot receivers sometimes, unless you're super special, you're most likely flex players, right? Unless you're one of the top echelon wide receivers in the league. So let's talk about some player comps. All right. I think this guy has a range. You can see on the card here that I've got 2 players. I was a Kyle Phillips guy, a player who I kind of comp with Restrepo a little bit. I was really into Kyle Phillips. I remember he went to UCLA, went to the Shrine Bowl game, and remember, he couldn't be covered in practice, and he got all that press about couldn't cover him in practice and the one-on-one drills, and everyone got excited. I liked his game at UCLA. See very similar playing characteristics in Restrepo that I did with Kyle Phillips. Unfortunately, Phillips didn't really make it to our dynasty rosters. He's on Tennessee. He just can't stay healthy. I'm not sure he's got the twitch and the physicality to withstand playing in the NFL. But he could be a Roman Wilson too from Michigan, right? We saw Roman Wilson last year. Another, I believe he was a 4-year player. I mean, I know Restrepo is going to be a 5-year player. Roman Wilson didn't have that vertical prowess, the vertical excitement and long balls, but he was that guy down the middle of the field, the intermediate and short areas of the field where you saw him get open, where he was making himself available to McCarthy last year, right? So he's got, Cam Ward now. No, no, I think Cam Ward's in Florida State, or is Cam Ward, I think, in Miami, right? Cam Ward? Yeah, I think so. But nonetheless, so do I have a buy, sell, and hold on Restrepo, right? I think he's just going to be a hold right now. No one's going to come knocking on your door to buy him. And I'm not going to sell him right now because he's probably really not going to, you're not going to be able to sell him for anyone because really this is more of like a sleeper show. So, I'm not going to go out and buy him because I think he's got some things to work on his game, but I'm also not going to sell him because I don't think he's worth anything. So I'm going to hold and see if he can improve his game and, really improve his draft stock next year. So there you guys got it, man. That is my XAVIER Restrepo report. Fun player. He should have another productive season. And yes, it is Cam Ward going to be throwing him the ball down there in Miami. So should be a fun time. Hopefully he makes himself available to him and he really has a great season. So there you guys got it. XAVIER Restrepo, the 2025 Rookie Report. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks.